Welcome to Mindful Objective, the podcast where we explore the root causes of health concerns to help restore balance. I'm your host, Dr. Daniel Sproul, integrative health practitioner and professor, and today we're diving into something most people overlook until it becomes a real problem, and that's the signals your gut is sending you. This could be bloatings, cravings, fatigue, brain fog, irritability. These aren't just random symptoms. These are usually messages, clues that something deeper is going on inside your body. Maybe it's gut dysbiosis, food sensitivities, or compromised intestinal barrier, what we call leaky gut. So in this episode, we'll unpack the symptoms people brush off but shouldn't, the connection between gut health and mental health, why guessing or Googling symptoms leads people astray. That'll lead you all down a bad rabbit hole. Functional tests that reveal what's really going on, and natural ways to support and heal your gut. Let's stop ignoring what your body is trying to tell you, right? Start listening. As always, this show's for educational purposes only. We do not diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or disease. So let's get into it. Let's face it, most people ignore their symptoms until it's bad enough that they interfere with their daily life. You feel bloated after meals, you brush it off. You're tired in the afternoon and you blame it on poor sleep. You feel irritable or moody and assume it's just stress. But when things become patterns, they aren't just random annoyances. These are signals, and your body's trying to get your attention. So are you listening? The problem is we live in a culture that tells us to push through, right? We train to ignore early signs of imbalances and wait till we get a formal diagnosis before we act, right? When your health is important to you, we got to be proactive. But if we flip that idea on its head, what if we started paying attention sooner? So let's break it down what symptoms you might be ignoring and why they matter. This is a very common one, bloating and gas, right? Most people experience bloating occasionally, but if it happens all the time after meals, it could be a sign of deeper digestive issues. You might be struggling with low stomach acid, right? Not high, but it might be low stomach acid. Pancreatic enzyme deficiencies could be SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or imbalanced microbiome. Left undressed, this can create a ripple effect, weakening your gut lining and leading on what commonly known as leaky gut. Do you have leaky gut? You may have that, but we won't know till we test. Another one would be cravings and blood sugar swings. This is another very common one. So if you find yourself craving sugar, carbs, or salty snacks, especially at the same time each day, it's just not a willpower issue, right? There's more to it. Cravings often reflect blood sugar imbalances, dysbiosis, or even underlying yeast overgrowth like candida. And we're seeing this more and more in people, candida. I think a lot of people do not know they have it, but yeah, if you're experiencing any of these things, that's something we need to look at deeper. So when your body's out of balance, it starts sending you signals to seek foods that offer quick fuel, even if they ultimately worsen the problem. Like a big one for me used to be, get a migraine, what would I want? McDonald's, Coca-Cola, right? But then I learned that it was actually making things worse. So another one would be fatigue and brain fog. So ever feel like you're moving through the molasses, right? Like you're walking in gel or glue, especially in the mid-morning or mid-afternoon. Chronic fatigue and brain fog are among the most common signs of systematic inflammation, poor gut absorption, and adrenal burnout. And here's the kicker. You can feel exhausted even if you look at your blood work and see your iron, B12, and thyroid, and they all look fine. There's more to it. That's why gut function matters, right? Nutrient absorption and inflammation markers often reveal much more than you find in basic labs. Another one would be mood swings and irritability. Your gut produces over 90% of your serotonin and a significant amount of dopamine. And when it's inflamed and balanced, it directly affects your mood. If you notice you're more anxious, snappy, or easily overwhelmed, that could be your gut-brain axis signaling that something's off. This is often overlooked in conventional care, where mood is separated from digestion, right? But they are closely connected. Again, you go to your physician, you say, I'm having these issues. They don't always relate it to the gut. They relate it to maybe it's a chemical issue in the brain when it's really an issue in that gut. Another one would be skin issues, right? Acne, eczema, rosacea, even unexplained rashes, right? It all relate to gut health. So that's why we have to look and make that connection between the two. When your gut lining is compromised and toxins from undigested food particles enter your bloodstream, the immune system reacts. and skin often becomes the outlet. So again, you don't need fancy creams. You need to look inside. We say this all the time, right? That's the whole point in functional labs. Let's take a deeper look inside your body, right? Again, you're told your labs are normal. You assume you're fine. Or how many of us go through that? Oh, yeah, my labs look good. We didn't run the right labs, right? Let's run functional labs to actually see what your gut's doing. But symptoms are often early warning signs. They show up long before diseases take place. Well, at Mindful Objective, we encourage our clients to think of these signs not as problems or something to suppress, but these are messages, right? You got to decode those messages to understand what your body's saying to you. Your body does speak. Again, it's not trying to ruin your day, it's trying to protect you. So the longer we ignore these whispers, the louder they get. That's when symptoms turn into diagnosis. That's where you do not want to get to. But if you listen early, you can course correct before real damage occurs, right? You don't want to get to the point where you run routine labs with your physician and they come back, this is what you have. Now you have this disease. Now you have this. You want to identify, hey, I've been feeling this way for years, and now it's finally showing up on that blood work. Again, that's not where you want to get to. You having any types of symptoms? That's what we got to address now. So the next thing we got to talk about is dysbiosis, right? Leaky gut, food sensitivities, and what's really going on. So if you are constantly bloated, dealing with random fatigue, experiencing different kind of mood swings, or reacting oddly to certain foods, you're not just sensitive. You may be dealing with 3 common but often undiagnosed root causes: dysbiosis, leaky gut, and food sensitivities. So let's walk through each of these to understand how they're deeply connected and why ignoring them makes things worse over time. So dysbiosis, right? This is a microbial imbalance in the gut. Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria, virus, and fungi, right? Together, this ecosystem is known as the microbiome. When in balance, it plays a major role in digestion, immune function, vitamin production, and inflammation control. When the ecosystem is disrupted through poor diet, chronic stress, antibiotics, and environmental toxins, bad actors can take over. Common culprits are yeast, overgrowth of candida, excess strains of E. coli, deficiencies of beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus, bifidobacterium. Parasites are pathogens. So you don't need a GI diagnosis to have dysbiosis. People with these kind of symptoms like skin issues, food cravings, bad breath, different bowel habits often have underlying microbial imbalances that are missed from conventional stool tests even. Another one would be leaky gut. This is when your intestinal barrier breaks down. Your intestinal lining is supposed to be semi-permeable, allowing nutrients while keeping toxins, microbes, and undigested food out of your bloodstream. When the gut lining becomes inflamed, those tight junctions loosen. This condition, known as increased intestinal permeability, or called leaky gut. This allows particles to slip through and get into your circulation, right? And they shouldn't be there. Your immune system at that point kicks into gear, tagging these particles as threats. That leads to inflammation, right? This leads to inflammation, which can trigger autoimmune flares, disrupt hormone balance, create widespread fatigue and brain fog, and it could also contribute to joint pain, migraines, and more. A damaged gut barrier also increases the risk of developing new food sensitivities, and more undigested protein and irritants make their way into your bloodstream, something we do not want. Another one we talk about a lot is food sensitivities. These are delayed inflammatory reactions. Unlike food allergies, which cause immediate reactions, food sensitivities are delayed immune response. So again, you might eat something today and not feel the effects of it for 1, 2, 3, 5 days later. The reactions are often IgG mediated, meaning they involve a different branch of immune systems than typical allergies. Some of these symptoms can include fatigue, joint stiffness, skin breakouts, anxiety or depression, fluid retention or weight gain. So what are common reactive foods? We see this in a lot of different clients. Gluten, dairy, eggs, soy, corn, and nuts top of the list. But it varies for everyone. Even foods that are technically healthy can trigger problems when the gut is inflamed. So how do you know if you're dealing with one of these issues? You might be dealing with all 3. What's the one way to understand if you are dealing with all 3? If that is you, Testing is key, right? You can easily run that food sensitivity test to identify that. So functional lab testing can reveal really what's going on. So at Mindful Objective, we run comprehensive gut tests that go far beyond what a standard doctor office would look at. These might include stool testing to measure bacterial overgrowth, parasites, inflammation, and digestive enzyme levels. These results help us understand the full picture, not just what's bothering you, but what your body's been trying to manage for months and even years, right? What is your body trying to say? You're not having these symptoms for no reason. So the root cause of dysbiosis can lead to leaky gut. Leaky gut can lead to food sensitivities. Food sensitivities can increase inflammation, which further damages the gut lining. It becomes a vicious cycle. You have to intervene with the right tools. And that's what we're trying to do today, is educate you to understand what those tools are. So now, a big one out there that a lot of people do, this is going to be relatable to a lot of people, is the problem with self-diagnosing. It's easier than ever to Google your symptoms, find a TikTok video on gut health, or buy a cleanse kit promising to fix everything. But here's the truth. Self-diagnosing gut issues can lead people down the wrong path, or worse, creates more health problems. Right? Gut symptoms are complex. Bloating, for example, could be due to low stomach acid. Again, low stomach acid, poor enzyme output, SIBO, food sensitivities, and even stress. But online advice tends to oversimplify. The same goes for fatigue, mood swings, skin issues, and sugar cravings. Everyone wants a magic protocol, right? One pill, that's all. And it's not always the case. Another thing people need to remember is what works for one person might harm another. So let's take a deeper look at why self-diagnosing doesn't work and what to do instead. Number one would be elimination diets without clarity. So one of the most common reactions to gut discomfort is going on a strict elimination diet. People remove gluten, dairy, sugar, eggs, soy, and nightshades all at once. While this might reduce symptoms short term, it's not sustainable, right? How a lot of people remove all these things at once and then go right back to it and then find out these are the issues. One of the most common reactions to gut discomfort is going on a strict elimination diet. People remove gluten, dairy, sugar, eggs, soy, and nightshades all at once. While this might reduce symptoms short term, it's not sustainable. Without knowing what you're reacting to, you may reintroduce something that continues to inflame you, or unnecessarily avoid something that wasn't even a problem. You don't want to have that bad relationship with food. You start to believe that more and more foods are unsafe, which can spiral into nutrient deficiencies, weight loss resistance, or a disordered relationship with eating. So what's more effective? Test for actual food sensitivities and understand the underlying issue. Like whether your gut lining needs repair or your microbiome needs rebalancing. You can't just eliminate your way to health without rebuilding what's missing. Another common trap is loading up on gut health supplements, probiotics, enzymes, glutamine, ACV, or herbal remedies based solely on symptoms. Some people think probiotics are always safe, but certain strains can worsen SIBO or histamine intolerance. Enzymes might help for one person, but cause discomfort for someone else with gastritis or H. pylori. There's also an issue with dosage, timing, interaction with other supplements and medications. So without a structured plan, these supplements become expensive, and you're just guessing. And when they don't work, people assume they're broken. In reality, they just need a tailored approach. The other thing, too, is people lose hope in using supplements because they're taking all the wrong supplements and it's causing more problems. So that's why I get on the right path. Do you need those supplements? Maybe that's what we need to test for. So functional stool testing reveals which bacteria are overgrown or deficient, whether inflammation is present, and whether digestion is actually working. Then you know exactly where to target and what to order at that point. You're not mindlessly ordering supplements. You're ordering the correct supplements that are going to help work in your body. The other thing is getting lost in health trends, from celery juice to detox teas to parasite cleanses. The big one now is carnivore diet. The internet's full of bold claims, right? But again, your gut isn't one size fits all. Some people genuinely feel better on a lower FODMAP diet for SIBO. Others need high fiber diversity to support their microbiome. What works wonders for one person might derail another one's healing, right? It may make things very much worse for you. There's also the issue of starting protocols in the wrong order, right? Many people try to kill pathogens before repairing the gut lining or supporting detox pathways. This can all backfire. This could cause different reactions, more inflammation, and worsening symptoms. Another one that people don't always pay attention to, but it's their emotional and nervous system health. Chronic stress alters digestion, reduces stomach acid, and dysregulates the gut-brain axis. Yet self-diagnosis really considers the mental emotional root causes. Breath work, somatic work, therapy, and slowing down are just as important as dietary changes. So what's more effective? A holistic model that respects your body's pace and includes emotional regulation strategies, not just gut strategies and protocols. So gut healing is possible, but not through DIY shortcuts. Guessing, eliminating, and over-supplementing really leads to lasting relief. It's like playing darts blindfolded. You might hit something, but you probably won't hit the target. And I think that's just so common in a lot of people out there. One is you try because you're trying to save money, right? Instead of testing, you may go and say, I'm just going to buy these supplements. We're trying to hit that target, but we do not always hit that target because we're on the wrong path. And that could be because we're blindly buying these supplements because of some trend, or you're trying to save money because you don't want to pay for testing and you're buying these supplements instead, which are causing more harm and lead you down the wrong path. That's not where you want to get. That's why we always say work with a health coach, somebody that's knowledgeable in this area, whether it's myself, Mindful Objective, or some other practitioner out there. You got to get on the right path, right? Don't blindly take supplements that you may not need or may be damaging. Same with pharmaceuticals, anything else out there. So just keep it in mind. How could we help? If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. mindfulobjective.com. You could always just hit contact us. Or if you have a podcast question, mindfulobjective.com/podcasts. And you can fill that out and I'll gladly answer any kind of question. So next one we should talk about is the gut-brain connection, right? This is your mood, energy, and more. So what if your anxiety isn't just in your head, right? What if your brain fog, irritability, and sleepless nights are actually starting in your gut? It might sound surprising, but science is clear. The gut and the brain are deeply connected, and understanding this gut-brain connection could be the missing piece in your health journey. So let's unpack how the systems work and why so many people struggle with mental and emotional symptoms that are actually rooted in the gut. The common term lately is the gut is the second brain, which is factual. Your gastrointestinal tract is its own nervous system, right? This system contains over 100 million nerve cells and communicates directly with the brain via the vagus nerve. A lot of people hear about the vagus nerve, especially with anxiety. A bidirectional superhighway that sends signals both ways. This means stress can affect digestion and gut health, which can affect mood, focus, and sleep. This connection is why people with irritable bowel syndrome often report higher levels of anxiety and depression. But even if you don't have formal diagnosis, gut dysfunction can send ripple effects into your brain and nervous system. Then on the chemical side, serotonin, dopamine, and mood. So over 90% of your body's serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter responsible for regulating mood, appetite, and sleep, this is produced in your gut. You might think you need an antidepressant, but if your gut is off, no amount of mood-boosting affirmations or therapy sessions will make a lasting impact unless you address the physical root issue, right? In the gut. Another one would be leaky gut neuroinflammation. So when your intestinal lining is compromised, again, aka leaky gut, undigested food proteins and bacterial fragments can leak into the bloodstream. These LPS modules are highly inflammatory, and when they cross the blood-brain barrier, they can cause neuroinflammation. This kind of immune response to the brain can contribute to brain fog, poor memory, low motivation, panic attacks, even headaches and migraines. It's why someone might feel off after eating certain foods but not experience typical GI symptoms like gas or diarrhea. The response is happening neurologically, not just in your digestive system. Another one would be histamine intolerance in the brain. People with gut imbalances or mast cell activation, MCAS, may struggle with excess histamine in the body. This can also impact mood and cognition, triggering racing thoughts, anxiety, irritability, and sleep disturbances. And it's often overlooked. Many people are put on psychiatric medications without any investigation into their gut, diet, or histamine load. In these cases, restoring microbial balance and supporting gut lining can calm the nervous system, and this can help reduce histamine reactivity. This will lead to better mental clarity and emotional regulation. So again, it may not be in a pill, right? It's in your gut, right? That's a different approach. That's somewhere to take a look, right? You may be on medications now and you come across this podcast and you may realize, you know what? Maybe I need to address my gut and see what I need to do from there. Another one, cortisol and adrenals and gut motility. So chronic stress doesn't make you feel overwhelmed. It slows down digestion. Elevated cortisol levels suppress stomach acid. It reduces enzyme output and even contributes to gut permeability. That's why high stress people often struggle with indigestion, constipation, or even loose stools. If you're wired but tired, can't fall asleep, and wake up between 2 and 4 a.m. most nights, this could be a sign that your gut and adrenals are out of sync, right? It's not just theoretical. So at Mindful Objective, we see clients with long-standing anxiety finally feeling calm, not because of anti-anxiety meds, but because they healed their gut. Again, a reminder, things take time, right? We've seen people reclaim their focus and energy once inflammation was reduced and microbiome was rebalanced. Again, things take time. So you have to identify the actual issue and then address it, right? What is that root cause? You weren't born with it. It's most likely a root cause. So holistic approach to gut-brain healing. To truly support gut-brain axis, we recommend reducing inflammatory foods and histamine triggers, adding in gut healing nutrients like L-glutamine or magnesium glycinate, supporting vagus nerve tone through breath work, cold exposure, singing, or even gargling. You want to prioritize your sleep hygiene and blood sugar stability. Track symptoms and correlate them with what foods you had and what stress patterns you had. So your mental health is not separate from your physical health. When you treat your whole body as a whole, when you listen to both your brain and your gut, you give yourself a best chance to truly heal. There's a lot more to than just taking a pill out there. Hey, you hear it all the time where people have high blood pressure, they have, again, anxiety, all this, and they just given a pill. But what is that root cause of that issue? A lot of people don't look at it, right? But rather than take another pill, what is that root cause of that bloating? Take a look at those numbers to identify the actual issue and address that issue versus just taking a pill on top of a pill. What can you do today to start supporting your gut? Here's a simplified but powerful 3-phase roadmap we often use with clients. Phase 1, remove the triggers. Identify and eliminate common gut irritants, right? Processed foods, sugar, alcohol, or anything you're personally sensitive to. Use testing to find out what foods you're reacting to, not more guessing. Look at toxins too. Plastics, mold, even personal care products can affect the gut. Phase 2 would be repair and rebuild. Adding gut healing nutrients like L-glutamine, zinc, and aloe, for example. Bone broth and collagen support to help with the lining repair. I use foundational support like digestive enzymes if it's needed, right? Again, it's a phased approach. It depends on your actual issues and symptoms and how we look to restore balance. And phase 3 is that restore balance, right? Introduce targeted probiotics based on stool results, not just generic blends. So you want to, based on your testing, say, oh, these are the ones I actually need, not just a generic one. Support microbiome diversity with a wide range of fiber-rich plants. You want to aim for 30 plus types a week, right? Do you know those? Or do you need a coach to walk you through those? Other thing you want to do is consider mindful eating, stress reduction, and sleep hygiene, because the gut health isn't just what you eat. It's how you live. Every gut is different. That's why healing has to be personalized. And if you're dealing with these symptoms, for a long time, don't lose hope. Your body wants to heal. Sometimes it just needs the right support and information to get there. Right? That's why working with one of us here at Mindful Objective, we want to coach you down the right road, right? Down the right path. Take the right supplements if needed. And then do you need to be on them long term? Maybe you need to be on the foundational supplements longer term. And maybe these ones you just need for a couple of months just to heal that gut. So remember, your gut is important in your body. And I think anybody that has gut issues understands this podcast because it's not fun dealing with bloating, gas, fatigue, any of those things too. And a lot of people do not relate that to that anxiety, depression, and stuff too can all be related to the gut. Same with low stomach acid. I think most people hear from their physician, they go in with gastritis, anything these different issues they're having, right away they're told, hey, take this because your stomach acid's too high. But there's no testing done to rule that out. So that's where I say too, a lot of times it's not high stomach acid. Oftentimes it's low stomach acid, which is reverse from what you're used to hearing. That wraps up today's episode, Gut Instincts, what your body's trying to tell you. If bloating, cravings, fatigue, or brain fog is your norm, it's time to listen to those signals and get it fixed. Your body speaks in symptoms. You just need the right tools to understand what it's saying. So at Mindful Objective, we offer functional lab testing for gut health, dysbiosis, leaky gut, and food sensitivities, personalized healing protocols tailored to your body, the guidance and support you need to stop guessing and start healing. Remember, you don't have to do this way forever. Let's uncover what's really going on in your gut and what your gut's trying to say. So if you found this episode helpful, share it with someone you care about, and visit mindfulobjective.com to learn more. As always, this show's for educational purposes only. We do not diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or disease. Stay curious, stay grounded, stay well.